great throne hall of Xylarion glowed with cold silver light. The alien queen sat high above the court, her crown made of sharp crystals that cut the air like blades. Her eyes were proud, and her voice echoed like thunder. Before her stood her generals and nobles. They had gathered to hear her verdict on the new rumors. Whispers spoke of human warriors fighting back against her empire. Small colonies, they said, were resisting her armies. It was an insult to her rule. The queen laughed. Her laughter was sharp and cruel. Humans, she said, are nothing but fragile creatures. They bleed fast, they break easily. They are not warriors, they are dust in the wind. Her court joined in the laughter, echoing her words. But one old advisor dared to step forward. His robes were worn, and his eyes carried memories of ancient wars. "My queen," he said carefully, "legends tell of humans defeating stronger species long ago. We should not ignore these stories, perhaps." The queen raised her hand, cutting him off. "Legends are for fools," she declared. "Stories of humans are lies told to comfort weak races. My empire has crushed worlds, burned fleets, broken kings. Do you think a race of weak animals can stand against me?" The court fell silent, but in the shadows, some exchanged uneasy glances. The reports from the outer colonies could not be denied. Human resistance was real, yet none dared to speak further. The queen's anger was more dangerous than any truth. To prove her words, the queen gave an order. "Bring me a human," she said. "I will show you all how weak they are. I will make the galaxy laugh at them." Her voice was filled with fire, and the guards bowed, ready to obey. Outside the palace, rumors spread quickly. Some believed the queen's words, but others wondered, could it be true? Could humans really be stronger than she claimed? Curiosity and fear began to grow among the people. That night, the queen sat alone in her chamber, gazing out at the stars. Her pride was her crown, but deep inside her mind, a small doubt flickered. The old advisor's words echoed faintly. Legends, warriors. Could there be truth in them? She crushed the thought with anger, yet the seed of fear had been planted. The next morning, her guards began their hunt. They searched for a human prisoner to bring before her. The queen imagined the spectacle, a fragile creature trembling in chains, begging for mercy. She smiled coldly. For her, this would be entertainment. But the galaxy had other plans. The queen's laughter had already awakened a storm. Somewhere out there, a human warrior was waiting, and he would not kneel, he would not break. And when he stood before her, the queen's world would change forever. The next day, the queen's throne hall was filled again. This time, the air felt heavier, as if the whispers of last night had followed everyone into the chamber. The nobles avoided each other's eyes, and the guards stood stiff, waiting for her command. The queen sat with her chin high, her crystal crown catching the cold light. She remembered her order. "Bring me a human." She waited, but no prisoner had yet been delivered. Her eyes narrowed. Before anyone could speak, the old advisor returned. His steps were slow, but his voice carried strength. He held in his hands an ancient scroll, its edges burned and fragile. "My queen," he said carefully, "before you mock again, you must hear this." The queen's eyes flashed with irritation. "You dare waste my time with old paper?" she said coldly. The court waited in silence, fearing her wrath. But the advisor unrolled the scroll anyway. He began to read. "It is written that long ago, when the stars were still young, humans faced enemies far stronger than themselves. They had no fleets, no great weapons, yet they survived. They turned broken machines into blades. They used fire against storms. They stood together when all others fled." The queen laughed bitterly. "Fairy tales for children," she said. Her words cut through the silence, but the advisor's voice rose, steady and unshaken. "It is also written that the humans did not fight for power. They fought for each other. That is what made them impossible to break." The hall grew still. A strange unease moved through the crowd. Some shifted uncomfortably, some looked away. For a moment, the queen herself felt something tighten in her chest. She brushed it away, her voice thundered. "Enough! I will not be lectured by dust. These stories are nothing but lies. My armies rule 10 sectors. My fleets crush any who dare resist. I will show you all how small humans truly are." But the seed of doubt had been planted not only in the queen's mind, but in the hearts of her people. The scroll's words carried weight, and even those who mocked humans before now wondered, what if the stories were true? The advisor bowed and stepped back, but his final words lingered in the air. "Mock them if you must, my queen, but do not forget, legends are born from truth." That night, far from the palace, her soldiers dragged a captured human through the dirt of a conquered colony. Chains bit into his wrists. His clothes were torn, but his eyes burned with silent fire. The guards laughed, calling him weak, calling him prey. But the human said nothing. He walked with steady steps, never lowering his gaze. Word of his capture began to spread like wildfire. Back in the palace, the queen smiled when she heard the news. "Finally," she whispered, "the galaxy will see what I see. They will watch and know the truth. Humans are nothing." But she did not know the danger. The human she had called weak was no ordinary prisoner. He was the spark of something greater. The forgotten legend was about to rise again, and her laughter would soon turn into silence. The palace gates opened with the sound of heavy chains. The human prisoner was dragged into the throne hall. His steps were slow, his arms bound, but his eyes did not look down. They looked straight ahead, calm and unbroken. The queen leaned back in her throne, a cruel smile playing on her lips. "So this is the creature who troubles my soldiers," she said. Her voice was loud enough for all to hear. "This is the warrior humans speak of. He looks no stronger than a farmer." The nobles laughed, echoing her words, but some of them could not ignore the human's steady gaze. His body was tired, yet he stood tall. His silence felt heavier than words. The queen waved her hand. "Kneel," she commanded. The guards pushed him down, but the man fought against the force. He fell to one knee, but his back did not bend. His head did not bow. His eyes still burned like fire. The queen frowned. Her laughter faltered for the first time. She rose from her throne, her crystal crown catching the light. "Perhaps you do not understand," she said coldly. "You are in my empire, in my hall. You are nothing here." Still, the human spoke no word. His silence was like a blade, sharper than any insult. The crowd grew restless, whispers running like shadows through the hall. Finally, the queen's pride demanded more. "Very well," she said. "If words will not break you, then I shall test your strength. Tomorrow you will fight in the great arena. You will face my beasts. You will show the galaxy that humans are fragile, weak, laughable." Her voice thundered, and the court roared with approval. But in the quiet corners, doubt still lingered. Some remembered the scroll, the old stories. They wondered, what if he survived? That night, the human was thrown into a dark cell. His chains rattled as he sat against the stone wall. A young guard watched him from the shadows. The boy whispered, "Why don't you beg? Why don't you ask for mercy?" The human finally spoke. His voice was quiet but strong. "Because mercy is for those who give up." His words startled the guard. The boy said nothing more, but the human's calm tone sank deep into his heart. In her chamber, the queen looked out over the glowing city. Her pride was still strong, yet the man's eyes haunted her thoughts. Why had he not begged? Why had he not trembled? She told herself it was nothing, that tomorrow he would die, and all doubts would end. But in the darkness of space, rumors spread faster than light. News of a human prisoner in the queen's palace reached the ears of those who remembered the old stories. They whispered to each other, "Perhaps the legend lives again." Morning came. The arena was prepared, filled with roaring crowds. The queen stood high above, her gaze sharp and proud. She wanted the galaxy to laugh with her. She wanted humans crushed before all eyes. The gates opened. The human walked into the arena, chains falling from his wrists. He stood alone, surrounded by sand and stone, his face calm, his eyes steady. The queen raised her hand, and the beasts were released. The challenge had begun, but it was not the human who looked weak. It was the queen whose pride now trembled on the edge of fear. The arena was silent for a moment, as if the world itself waited. The sand shimmered under the glowing lights. The human's eyes scanned the crowd, calm and unshaken. He did not see fear. He did not see doubt. Only the challenge ahead. The beasts emerged, their claws scraping the stone floor. Their eyes glowed red, teeth sharp like the blades of 1,000 warriors. The crowd gasped, leaning forward in anticipation. They had never seen a human face such monsters and survive. The queen's laugh echoed over the arena, sharp and cruel. "Show us your worth, human," she commanded. Her voice carried over the roar of the crowd. Her soldiers stood ready, weapons gleaming, waiting to end the contest if the beasts faltered. The human took a deep breath, his body tense, every muscle prepared. The first beast lunged, faster than any human could follow, but he sidestepped with a strange grace, his movement smooth, almost unnatural. The creature's claws missed by inches, tearing the sand instead. The crowd murmured, shock and excitement mixing. The second beast came, larger and stronger. It roared, shaking the air. The human grabbed a broken piece of wood from the ground, swinging it with precision. The blow hit the beast's leg, sending it stumbling. The queen's eyes narrowed, disbelief flickering across her face. No human had ever stood against her arena beasts, not one. They always fell, always begged, always screamed. But this one, he was different. The human did not pause. He did not falter. The third beast appeared, massive and armored. Its scales glittered under the lights. Each step made the ground tremble. The crowd held its breath, expecting the end. The human ran forward, using his speed and agility. He ducked under the beast's swing, dodged the tail that could crush a man. He struck again, not to kill, but to unbalance, to survive, to show he was not weak. The Queen's lips pressed together, her usual laughter gone. She watched, astonishment replacing pride. How could this human, so small, survive the test of her deadliest creatures? Hours passed in the arena, each moment stretching into eternity. The human moved with a rhythm, a strategy, a calm confidence. The beasts attacked and lunged, but he adapted, always a step ahead, always alive. By the end, the sand was torn, the air thick with dust, and the scent of sweat and fear. The beasts lay exhausted or defeated, some nursing wounds, and some watching him with wary eyes. The human stood alone, chest heaving, eyes steady. The crowd erupted, a mix of cheers and stunned silence. Even the soldiers could not hide their amazement. The Queen's crown gleamed in the sunlight, but her pride was bruised, her laughter now hollow. The human looked toward the Queen. No fear, no anger, only a quiet strength. The Queen swallowed, realizing for the first time that legends might carry truth, that humans, fragile as they seemed, could hold power beyond the imagination of her empire. She turned away for a moment, her mind racing. What had she underestimated? How could one human face her deadliest beasts and remain standing? The arena emptied, but the memory of the human lingered in every eye, in every heart. A question whispered, could this be the human who would change everything? The Queen knew one thing clearly. For the first time, her laughter had been premature. She had learned the truth, and it was only the beginning. The throne room was cold and silent. The Queen sat high above, her eyes sharp and calculating. She could still feel the echo of the arena, the human's defiance like fire against ice. Her soldiers and advisors bowed low, but none dared speak. The tension was thick, heavier than the walls of her palace. The human entered without fear, his footsteps steady on the polished floor. He did not bow, he did not tremble. He only looked up at the Queen with calm eyes, like he had done in the arena. The room seemed smaller somehow, filled with the weight of expectation. Human, the Queen said, her voice cold, but her hands clenched at her sides. Do you understand the risk you take by standing here, by defying me? I understand, he replied, his voice steady, and I am ready. The Queen's lips curved into a small, bitter smile. You are brave, I will give you that. But bravery alone does not survive here. It never has. She waved her hand, and the doors behind him creaked open, revealing soldiers with glowing weapons, ready to strike if she commanded. The human looked at them, then back to the Queen. I do not seek war, only truth, only fairness, he said. His words were calm, yet they carried weight, stronger than the swords surrounding him. The Queen studied him, her mind spinning. How could one human carry such strength, such courage, without fear or hesitation? Every story she had heard about humans painted them as fragile, weak, easily broken, yet here was proof that her empire had been wrong. She stood, her presence filling the room. Then tell me, human, why should I spare you? Why should I even consider your words? I have fought your beasts, survived your tests, and faced your empire with nothing but my will, he replied. I am not here to overthrow you, only to prove that humans are more than you believe, that they can stand, that they can challenge, that it can endure. The Queen's eyes narrowed, and for a moment, silence ruled. She had never felt uncertainty like this. Never had a human unsettled her so completely. Her advisors whispered among themselves, shocked at the audacity of this mortal. Then the Queen laughed, but it was different now. Not cruel, not mocking, but thoughtful, almost curious. You are bold, human, more than I expected. Perhaps you are not like the others. Perhaps you are something extraordinary. The human bowed slightly, not out of fear, but respect. I only wish to be understood, not feared, he said. His words hung in the air, soft yet unbreakable. The Queen paced, thinking, planning, testing her own judgment. Could she trust him? Could she allow a human to walk free after all that had happened? Could she admit that her empire had underestimated the strength of a single human heart? Finally, she stopped, her gaze fixed on him. Very well, she said slowly. You have survived the arena. You have faced my wrath, and you have spoken your truth. I will not harm you. For now, but remember, human, this is only the beginning. The galaxy watches, and every choice you make will echo across worlds. The human nodded, understanding the weight of her words. The queen turned and left the room, leaving him with the soldiers, who now looked at him with a mix of respect and fear. The test had changed everything, not just for him, but for her as well. He had survived the queen's wrath, and in doing so, he had begun to change her. The human walked out of the throne room, knowing the battle was far from over. The queen had learned the truth about humans, but would the empire ever accept it? The first step had been taken, and the galaxy would never be the same. The human walked through the palace corridors, his mind racing, every step echoing like a drum of fate. Soldiers watched him with caution, their eyes wide, uncertain whether to obey orders or question them. Whispers filled the halls, rumors spreading faster than fire in dry grass. The human survived the queen, one soldier murmured, voice trembling. No one does that. They say he faced the arena without fear, another replied, and lived. The human did not speak. He only moved forward, feeling the weight of the entire empire on his shoulders. Each hallway, each door, seemed to whisper danger, yet he walked with quiet determination, knowing that the queen's acknowledgement was only the beginning. Outside the palace, the city of the alien empire teemed with activity. Ships rose into the sky, engines glowing, soldiers marching in perfect formation. Yet beneath the surface, fear spread like a hidden storm. The humans were seen as fragile, yet now one had defied the queen, and that fact unsettled everyone. In the war room, generals argued fiercely. The queen's human is a threat. We cannot allow him to move freely, one said, slamming a hand on the table. We must strike him down before he inspires others. Another shook his head. He has done nothing but survive and speak truth, yet the people see him as a symbol. If we harm him, we may ignite rebellion. Meanwhile, the human had found allies in unexpected places. Workers, slaves, and even lower-ranking soldiers began to watch him with admiration, some daring to whisper words of support. A spark of hope began to glow in the hearts of those who had long lived under oppression. The human knew he could not fight the entire empire alone. He needed strategy, patience, and understanding of the alien ways. Every step he took now carried a greater purpose. Each word, each gesture, could sway the balance of power. Sudi Isal. Inly alarms rang across the city, bright lights flashing. Soldiers ran in every direction. Intruders! Saboteurs in the outer districts! The human moved swiftly, blending with the crowd. Knowing this chaos was no accident, it was the beginning of a test, orchestrated by those who either feared or admired him. In the shadows of the city, he saw eyes watching him, calculating, measuring, ready to act. Every corner seemed alive, every alley held danger, yet he pressed on. The queen's message had spread like wildfire. Humans are not what they seem, whispered the citizens, and fear mingled with curiosity. The empire had underestimated a single human, and now the foundation of their control trembled. Back in the palace, the queen observed from her high balcony, her face calm yet her mind racing. The human moves like a shadow among my people, she said to herself. He inspires loyalty without command, courage without weapons. How can one mortal challenge an empire? Below her, the human reached the city square, a place where the alien people gathered for announcements and spectacles. He stood tall, feeling the eyes of thousands upon him, their fear, hope, and curiosity all mixing in the air. For the first time, he spoke to them, his voice clear, steady, and resonant. I am just one human, yet together we can be more. We can face fear, injustice, and oppression, and we can change our fate. The crowd murmured, some skeptical, some inspired, but the spark had been lit. And in that moment, the empire knew, the queen knew, that the balance of power had shifted, even if only slightly. The human had survived the arena, faced the queen, and now he was stirring the empire itself. The true test had begun, and the galaxy would tremble in the days to come. The city was silent, tension hanging heavy in the air. The human walked into the center of the Grand Plaza, surrounded by thousands of alien eyes, staring at him with fear, awe, and hope. He could feel their hearts beating in unison, a rhythm of change that had begun to grow. The alien queen appeared above on her balcony, her face stern, yet her eyes betrayed curiosity, anger, and respect. This human has done what no one could, she whispered to herself. He moves like the wind and touches hearts like fire. The human raised his hands, not in surrender, but in invitation. I do not come to fight you, nor to rule you, he called out, voice carrying across the plaza. I come to show you that courage, kindness, and truth are stronger than fear. The crowd gasped, whispers spreading like wildfire. He speaks like a leader, yet he carries no army. Is this the same human who survived the arena? Can one mortal really change everything? The Queen's generals watched nervously, their confidence shaken. The soldiers who once stood rigid and disciplined now hesitated, seeing the power of one human spirit. Murmurs of doubt and rebellion began to ripple through the ranks. Small but growing, a young alien child stepped forward from the crowd, eyes wide, voice trembling. "Please, human, show us the way." The human knelt, speaking gently. "We all have power inside, even if it is small. When we act together, we can face anything. No empire, no war, no fear can stop us." From the crowd, citizens began to move, quietly at first. Then with purpose, forming a wave of unity, the soldiers looked around, confused and afraid, some dropping their weapons, others following the people's lead. The Queen's face turned pale, realizing that her empire could not hold with just fear and commands. The human had shown them something stronger, something her armies could not contain. Suddenly, a great cheer rose. Thousands of voices united, chanting words of hope and freedom. The human smiled, knowing that the moment had come, the moment he had risked everything to reach. The Queen descended from her balcony, steps echoing, yet there was no anger, only understanding. "You have changed them, and perhaps even me," she admitted, her voice calm yet powerful. "You have proven that one human can challenge an empire and awaken the hearts of many." The human stood, looking at her with respect. "I do not seek to destroy, only to inspire, to remind everyone that courage and truth are stronger than fear." For the first time, the Queen nodded, her eyes softening. "Then let this be the start of something new," she said, turning to her people. "Together, we will rebuild, not with domination, but with respect and strength." The alien soldiers lowered their weapons, the people cheered louder, and the city felt alive with hope. The human had survived impossible trials, faced the laughter of a queen, and now, he had changed the course of a civilization. He looked to the horizon, knowing that challenges would come again, but for this moment, he had triumphed, not with swords or power, but with courage, wisdom, and humanity. And in that triumph, the galaxy whispered the truth. One human could make a difference. One human could inspire a change. One human could be the spark that set the stars on fire. The human turned to the people, smiling. "This is just the beginning," he said, and the crowd roared in agreement. The Empire had learned the truth. The Queen had learned the truth. And now, the universe would never forget.